Welcome to my National Podcast. Let's get into it. All right, today's Thursday. We have another beautiful episode for you guys. We're going to be doing chapters 9 and 10 for A Court of Thorns and Roses. The book has been getting pretty good. It seems like she's getting a bit acquainted with her new living situation. She is still wondering, though, about her family and everything back home, because she looks at some of the stuff in that house and she's like, yo, this could, pay for my family for months, years, if anything. So she's kind of still getting used to things. They're also asking, her some pretty tough questions like, hey, you got a man back home and whatnot. And she was just like, no, they definitely trying to, I don't know. We'll see if some romance brews, but so far, not too much has happened. But she is planning some kind of escape, what seems like. I don't know if you guys remember in the last episode, she did plant, a knife, and then she was walking around and kind of just looking for escape paths and so on and so forth. So the book is getting a little interesting. Hopefully it continues, we kind of flesh out a little more of the story and what's actually going on. But without further ado, though, we're going to get into our thread for today, which is, what was your I knew it moment? All right, so let's see what you guys knew. All right, hold on. Okay, suspected my wife was cheating for months. Then I found the Plan B pill instructions on our car. I've had a vasectomy for more than 7 years. Ooh, not only did she cheat, but homeboy busted all kinds of sweet nuts in your girl. Damn, son. Damn. She let him in it raw. Oh, didn't have second thoughts. She didn't want to be a single mom, though. When I was 8, I looked at my mom and asked her if she was pregnant. She said no. And I asked if she was sure, and she doubled down. I then said, well, you should probably start going to the gym. You're getting kind of fat. That's fucked up. About a week later, she announced in front of the whole family that she was, in fact, pregnant. She just didn't want to tell me before everyone else. Oh, my God, yo. Kids are crazy. He said, oh, well, then, damn, you might want to go to the gym. You getting fat out here, Mom. Like, damn, son. Oh, shit. He knew it, though. Let's see. What was your I knew it moment? That he was the one after a disastrous first date. Oh, really? Okay, he picked me up and we went to a local walking park. After returning to his car, it wouldn't start. Oh, brother. We both had to walk home, and just as I said, well, at least it's not raining and the heavens opened up, I was soaked through by the time I got home. Oh, no. She was like, well, at least it's a beautiful day to walk, and then just like, great. Now it's raining. I got back home not expecting to hear from him again, but he rang me when I got home and started the conversation with, I bet you've never been that wet on a first date before. Yo! My man's spitting. We both laughed it off and been stuck with each other since. That's crazy, because you never really hear a date going bad and then the relationship flourishes off of that. I think that's awesome. I think that's kind of how I think that's how most relationships should be, if I'm being honest with you. You kind of just embrace the, you're not perfect. Not everything's going to go your way. It's not going to go great all the time. You know what I mean? Everything just, it happens and it is the way it is. It's life, but you enjoy that person so much to the point where it's like, you guys can laugh about it. You guys can have a good time and it's all right. I love that. I think that's funny. I confronted my boyfriend that he was cheating on me. He repeatedly said, I haven't been with another woman since I met you. I know. I said I continued with the allegation. He kept insisting, no other woman since I met you, over and over until it clicked. He stopped talking. I saw it in his eyes. He knew I knew We were talking about men, not women. What? So he cheated on you. God damn, man. What? This is just, it's a trend, man. It is a motherfucking trend. Like, there are so many dudes that are secretly gay, and then they're just dating a girl forever, and then it's just like, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it, man. I get into it to literally the past maybe 3 or 4 episodes I've gotten into this, where it's mind-boggling how many dudes get in a relationship with girls and then they go and cheat, but they cheat with a dude because they're actually gay, and then it's like, what the fuck? That's crazy, man. But to have that realization is just, I don't know. Ladies, you let me know, is that worse coming to that kind of realization, or is it better? Like, well, at least he didn't fuck another bitch, you know. But then you kind of think to yourself, what was he, the pitcher or the catcher? You know, like, you know what I mean? Was he doing the booty hole stretching, or was he getting the booty hole stretched? It's like, oh, man, you know, which one would be worse, though? Ladies, you let me know in the comments. Goodness. My brother asking me for money to buy a car and telling him he can't drive and he's going to hurt somebody or end up in trouble. He told me he'd buy the car one way or another. It wasn't even 24 hours before he was in jail for driving without a license under the influence of drugs. My goodness. Like, your sister told you, bro, like, that you shouldn't be driving and it's not a good idea. I mean, I think there's kind of some warning in that, if I'm being honest with you. Just stupid. And I bet you she went to go visit him in jail like, didn't I tell you? Because I told you. Like, come on, man. Oh. All right. Went out for my wife's birthday, or my wife's friend's birthday in 2022. Met best friend's friend, Ashley, and her husband, Brian. I genuinely have a bad judge of character, but I marked Brian as a scumbag within minutes of meeting him. I have a terrible poker face, so my wife wasn't happy that I clearly wasn't having a good time hanging with Brian. Anyway, about 8 months later, it's revealed that Brian took the profits from his business for sports betting purposes, and it was in the hole over $1 million. Wow. Brian convinced Ashley to quit her job when they got engaged, and now she's severely behind her prior career prospects and moved back in with her parents at 35 because she and Brian had to sell the house immediately, as Brian allegedly owed some people who work outside the confines of the law a nice chunk of change. Oh. So this man was doing all this betting and shit, thinking like, okay, I can get the money real quick, because he may have taken out one of those predatory ass payday loan type deals where you get a loan shark and all that, you know, scary nonsense. And then now he's in the hole for $1 million. He fucked over his wife, his family, everything. Dude. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a scumbag, but he did make some really poor decisions. You know, some really poor decisions. I don't think that makes him a scumbag, but that does make him like a very a person that just doesn't make good decisions, if I'm being honest with you. Like, god damn, son, that's ridiculous. The Prince Andrew BBC interview reaffirming my suspicions. Okay, I've never seen that, so I don't know what they're talking about. All right. As a kid, I told my brother that pressing the button harder made the planes in Ace Combat 5 accelerate more. He didn't believe me. Years later, I found out the PS2 had pressure-sensitive buttons, and I was right. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not know that. Okay. Brother-in-law overdosed. Everyone else was convinced he was done with drugs, but I just knew he wasn't. Oh my god. Wow. Oh, damn, girl. Hopefully that didn't, tear the family apart too much. Goodness gracious. Hopefully he's alive. I mean, you can still overdose and survive, but hopefully he's alive, because that would be a tough one. My goodness. Yeah, sometimes it takes one person to, point it out, and, but it's not until something goes bad everybody believes what you point out, Big town hockey coach on local TV always gave me the creeps for some reason. Then years later, he was charged with molesting kids. God damn it, son. Oh. Like, what has this world gone to, man? Like, what in the hell? I just feel like that's gotten way more prevalent than anything. It's just like the sexual predators, man, they just coming out the woodwork. They just coming out the wazoo. Like, they're everywhere. It is just crazy to me how many stories you hear about this stuff. And it's not even one of those things where you're just like, that would never happen. Oh, no, that's minority of people. But I don't know, man, because it seems like it's more and more prevalent. More this stuff comes out and the more days, it's just, I don't know, bro. That is crazy to me. Suffered from chronic lower back pain for years. Went to the doctor who flippantly told me to fix my posture. Went to a chiro who told me to come in weekly for adjustments. Gave up for a while. Went to another doctor who took an x-ray and told me there wasn't anything wrong with me. One day, I went to the doctor for a hernia who had me take a MRI. Was told the MRI would be like 20 minutes. Ended up being 45. Doctor sits me down and says, yeah, that's a hernia, all right. But did you know that you have degenerative disc disease? Oh, shit. The discs in your lower spine are some of the worst I've seen. Blew my mind that it took 15 years of chronic lower back pain to get diagnosed for something that went on a doctor's wall of fame. Wow. Yo, they gaslit the hell out of you. And I wonder why. Like, why? What does a doctor get out of gaslighting their patient into believing that nothing is wrong with them? What do they get out of that? Like, this is your job to tell me what the hell is wrong with me. You know what I mean? I'm coming to you for help, and you're gaslighting me into believing that I'm good, I'm chilling? Like, what benefit do you get out of that? That is crazy. Oh, my goodness. All right, these two boys from my middle school wanted to drive me around town and take me to some places. Okay, that sounds sus. I had a weird feeling about it, so I declined. They were pushy, but I eventually blocked. A week later, a girl was sexually abused badly by the same boys. Yeah, see? Yeah, that seems a little sus to me. They're over here like, hey, you want to drive, you want to come with us to drive around town and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, you didn't really specify a destination or what we're going to be doing or any of that stuff. Like, that to me kind of seems a little weird, and that's like extremely sus in my opinion. I don't know about all that. And guess what? She was so right. That's crazy. When an ex-friend got busted for sleeping with a student, I always thought it was inappropriate how she acted outside of school. She would text students on the weekend using her number and not a classroom app. She claimed it was for questions about homework, projects, etc. She then invited students to come and watch her perform for a shadow cast of Rocky Horror where she played Janet. So she's in her underwear 70% of the show. Fast forward a few years after all this, and I get a message with a news article of her being arrested for fucking a student. Worst part, I had friends that still supported her, saying it's not really a big deal since he was 16, 17, the age of consent is 16. She is in a position of power, and ew. Ouch. See, the guy in me is just like, yo, W teacher. but then there's the other side where it's just like, what in the hell are you doing? You know, like, what the fuck are you doing, girl? What, you couldn't find some dudes to be with? Or like, is it that hard out there for you or something? You know, but again, on the other hand, it's just like, yo, W teacher, like, those boys must have been gassed. Like, yes. Oh my God. Yo, Miss Bradbury. Whoo, son. She sucked like a vacuum. Like, what? How do you know? I went ahead and saw her little one-man show. Goddamn, son. Oh, I'm sure that went around the school quick. She must have had at least 3 or 4 of them little boys like, yo, Miss Bradbury, what's good? What's good with you, girl? I want to see your one-woman show, if you know what I mean. Like, man, but again, then on the other hand, it's just like, the hell are you doing? For what reason are you destroying your career over some penis? You know? Like, bro, the thing is, you're an adult. You could go out and you could do that type of shit, you know? Either that or you're in the wrong line of work. You know, like, go be an adult actress or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the type of time you want, go ahead and do that. I'm sure them agencies will pick you up real quick. They'd be like, oh, yeah, word? Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I don't know. Like I said, there's 2 sides to that one, but goddamn. The day I confirmed my ex had secretly turned into an alcoholic was pretty rough. Long story short, she showed up to my house stumbling, and then it clicked. All those times I thought it was alcohol in her breath, it was. I'd just been gaslit to believe otherwise. What the hell? How in the hell could she gaslight you into believing that there wasn't alcohol in her breath? I mean, when you can smell alcohol in somebody's breath, you can smell it. Like, it's there. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm like, how in the hell could she gaslight you into believing that it wasn't alcohol? Yeah, I don't know, but whatever. There's no way I did an alcoholic girl. That's all bad. That's asking for her to just do some crazy shit on you. I read the curious incident of a dog in the nighttime, which made me think I was on the spectrum. I brought it up with my mom, who was shocked to hear that I knew. I learned I was diagnosed as a child, but my parents didn't know how to tell me. Oh, no. I mean, maybe that was a good thing, just because it kind of gave you the confidence, I guess, to be like, yeah, I'm normal. I'm like everybody else. But then maybe there was times where he felt like, nah, like, this ain't normal. Like, that, this is not how other people act in these certain situations, I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, because I would feel like if you told a kid that, they would think the worst. You know, they would think like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, what is this spectrum thing? What is, autism or whatever? Like, is this bad? Is it, and then on top of that, it's kind of like, if your friends at school knew, you know what I mean? Would that change like their school dynamic and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. At the same time, I think they should have told him when he was older. That way he would kind of have a concept of understanding, and that way he wouldn't have to figure it out on his own and be like, yeah, see, we didn't tell you. Because now he kind of feels a little betrayed. It's like, really? You guys knew this the whole time? You didn't fucking tell me? And that would kind of be upsetting, if I'm being honest with you. But, ooh, good luck, my guy. All right. Okay, there it is right there. Wait, yeah. All right, I'm going to do 3 more, and then we'll hop into our book. When I was in high school, I thought my stepmother was cheating on my dad. Me and a friend rode out bikes up to the mall, and as soon as we walked in, I saw her and some guy sitting across from each other right in the front of the food court. My stepmom was so shocked seeing me, her eyes got big, as big as pie plates, okay? As they were walking away, he put his arm around her and they were whispering something to each other. Oh, shit. Okay, he continues it. It took me a while. I figured she had already made up some story and had it ready to go if I said anything, and I'd get the belt. Years after I graduated, he got a call one night to fix my stepsister's car on the way taking me home. So he drove over there to work on it with me, still in the car. When he showed up, both of them just pointed at it, and after he popped the hood, they just started walking back into the house. So he told me to get back into the van so he could drop me off at home. On the way back, she called wondering why he wasn't fixing the car, and he said he thought she was going to help. He had me in the car. I know the actual person was the attitude my stepsister had of just pointing at the engine and immediately pulling out her phone and talking to her friends and walking away. So I'm guessing after he hung up, I told him years ago. Okay, there it is. Like, he added all this extra bullshit. Like, bro, nobody cares about that. Like, tell us what happened. Okay, so after years, hold on. Damn it. Okay, so after he hung up, I told him years ago I saw Lydia, whatever the fuck her name is, at the mall with another guy, and the reaction he had was he said he figured it was just one of her friends, but the look on his face was already... Face was already also figured. Okay, I guess the look on his face is he also figured that she was... that she was doing that. Godly grammar, my guy. That also she was upset to hear it. Like, pretty sure she continues to fuck around, but I guess, oh well, next month it'll be 18 years for them, so I guess he just wants to believe everything is fine. So he's still with her? Nigga. What the... Like, there's definitive evidence of her fucking around. You know she fucking around. But because it's been so long, he's just like, women's is gonna be women's. Like, it is what it is, son. I'm gonna just leave it alone and let her do what she gonna do. And it's just like, bro, that's not your girl, man. Like...
She belongs to the streets.
You know, she the community girl at this point. Like, man... And I guarantee you it's a thing where, like, he's the main dude that, like, pays all her bills. And then these other guys, you know, one guy's probably for sex and the other guy is probably for, you know, dates and experiences and stuff like that. And then there's another guy that maybe she actually likes. You know, she's probably out here rostering it up because you're just allowing it to happen. That is, my goodness, man. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, this is going to be our last one. I had a lot of suspicions that my ex was cheating. It started out small, like she just started to close herself in more. I thought it was stress and depression, so I gave her space, and she only wanted more and more space. She never wanted to talk to me about it, and any approach I made was met with hostility. One day, I went to check her PC for something, and I noticed her login wasn't the same. For the 5 years we had been together, it was always the same, and that's what gave me the first gut feeling. I went on to my PC and tried logging into her Facebook too. One, maybe see if it would answer what's going on with her, or two, see if that password has been changed too. Turned out all her passwords were suddenly changed. I didn't want to believe that it might be cheating, so I thought I'd at least be transparent and ask her why she decided to change everything. She was shocked, angrily, and fumbled her answer, which really made my feelings even worse. Ooh, yeah, that so tells you that she's hiding something. She gets immediately defensive. Like, come on, man. We were quite open with each other and had an open door rule with accounts and whatnot, as she'd been cheated on before, so she wanted to know So she wanted to know she could make sure I wasn't doing anything suspicious. One day I saw she left her PC logged in as she went to take a shower. So I took the opportunity to use our original policy to see what she'd been up to. It didn't take me long to find a bunch of conversations between her and a guy she met playing GTA RP. When she got out of the shower and saw me sitting in her chair, her face looked a bit worried. So I started asking her, "So you and Avery, huh?" My only regret is that I tried to make it work after an attempt to save the house. Should I have told her to pack a bag and get the fuck out before I showed everyone her explicit conversations? I mean, just the way she was acting and, being suspicious and stuff like that. Yeah, I probably would have just been like, ooh. Like, we gotta have a conversation. Like, for one, you changed your passwords. You want me to give you all this space, and you don't want to spend time with me and stuff like that. And then you get defensive when I ask you about it. Like, just those three things alone should have told you, like, yeah, this relationship is over. And then when you find out about this Avery character, you should have really been like, oh, damn, son. Like, hey, look, we're done. You know what I mean? Like, right then and there, that should have just been like, psh, we're done. That's tough. That's tough, my guy. My goodness. But let's going to go ahead and end that thread. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that thread. Man, some crazy scenarios in that one. I didn't think this thread was going to be that crazy. Didn't think it was going to be that juicy juice, but it was, man. That was some juicy stuff right there. You guys got some crazy little I knew it moments. Man, that is a little wild. But we're going to hop into announcements super fast, and then we're going to get into chapters 9 and 10 of our beautiful book. And I'm super excited to continue. So patreon.com/MyLastPodcast. Get an exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenarios to be featured on the Tuesday and Sunday shows. Audio listeners, keep downloading the podcast. I appreciate all the support you guys have already been showing. Just keep showing that support, and I appreciate it, man. If you come here every Tuesday, Thursday, as well as Sunday, and you just hit that download button, that lets me know that you guys are enjoying the episodes and that you guys are continuing to enjoy what we're doing over here. Rate this podcast also 5 stars so we can bring in more new people. If you want to help us even more on the free 99 side of things, go ahead and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, as well as TikTok. Instagram and TikTok for the clips, YouTube for more of the production side and the video side of everything. And that's it. Without further ado, though, let's get into our book. I try to make the announcements as fast as possible because I know you guys don't like the announcements. It's all good. It's okay. All right. All right, so when we left off, I kind of recapped it just a little bit in the beginning, but she's kind of just been getting acclimated to the house and walking around. She's also looking for like her little escape and so on and so forth. She's not too comfortable with the house just yet, but she's trying to figure things out. And she's also like trying to plan an escape, this and that. She's worried about her family back home. But they've also been kind of asking her some questions like, hey, you got a man back at home, you want to, I don't know. There may be some love brewing. We never know. She's also learned a lot more about what has happened to the elves or is it elves? I don't know. The high fae or whatever. She's kind of learned that there's been a curse that came over the land and they can't take these masks off, which is kind of crazy to me. And so, I believe it was chapter 8. No, maybe 7 when she was kind of, wondering like why they wear their masks and stuff like that. It was kind of giving me some like Haunting Adeline vibes a little bit where she's just like, God damn, he's like handsome as shit, but no, I can't. I'll never love him. The coochie will not get wet for this man, even though he's beautiful and fucking fantastic. But no, I can't. Because that's how I felt like Haunting Adeline was. I feel like Adeline was she was constantly just like, oh my God, this man is fucking gorgeous and amazing. But no, I can't. You know what I mean? So I feel like a little bit of that is kind of going on with this book right now, where she's just like, God damn, he's handsome as hell. But no, I cannot do that. But I digress. Let's get into chapters 9 and 10. Make sure our audio's all good.
Just in case. Chapter 9. The following morning, as Alice and the other servant woman prepared my bath, I contemplated my plan. Tamlin had mentioned that he and Lucian had various duties, and aside from running into him in the house yesterday, I'd seen neither of them around. So, locating Lucian alone would be the first order of business. A casual question tossed in Alice's direction had her revealing that she believed Lucian was on border patrol today and would be at the stables preparing to leave. I was halfway through the gardens, hurrying toward the outcropping of buildings I'd spied the day before, when Tamlin said from behind me, "No tripwires today?" I froze mid-step and looked over my shoulder. He was standing a few feet away. How had he crept up so silently on the gravel? Fairy stealth, no doubt. I willed calm into my veins, my head. I said as politely as I could, "You said I was safe here, so I listened." His eyes narrowed slightly, but he put on what I supposed was his attempt at a pleasant smile. "My morning work was postponed," he said. Indeed, his usual tunic was off, the baldric gone, and the sleeves of his white shirt had been rolled up to the elbows to reveal tanned forearms corded with muscle. "If you want to ride across the grounds, if you're interested in your new residence, I can take you." Again, that effort to be accommodating, even when every word seemed to pain him. Maybe he could eventually be swayed by Lucian. And until then, how much could I get away with if he was going to such lengths to make his people swear not to harm me, to shield me from the treaty? I smiled blandly and said, "I'd prefer to spend today alone, I think, but thank you for the offer." He tensed. "What about—" "No, thank you," I interrupted, marveling a bit at my own audacity. But I had to catch Lucian alone, had to feel him out. He might already be gone. Tamlin clenched his hands into fists, as if fighting against the claws itching to burst out. But he didn't reprimand me, didn't do anything other than prowl back into the house without another word. Soon enough, if I was lucky, Tamlin wouldn't be my problem anymore. I hurried for the stables, tucking away the information. Maybe one day, if I was ever released, if there was an ocean and years between us, I would think back and wonder why he'd bothered. I tried not to look too eager, too out of breath when I finally reached the pretty painted stables. It didn't surprise me that the stable boys all wore horse masks. For them, I felt a shred of pity at what the blight had done. The ridiculous masks they now had to wear until someone could figure out how to undo the magic binding them to their faces. But none of the stable hands even looked at me, either because I wasn't worth it or because they, too, resented me for the death of Andras. I didn't blame them. Any attempt at casualness took a stumble when I finally found Lucian astride a black gelding, grinning down at me with 2 white teeth. "Morning, Farah." I tried to hide the stiffening in my shoulders, tried to smile a bit. "Going for a ride, or merely reconsidering Tam's offer to live with us?" I tried to recall the words I'd come up with earlier, the words to win him, but he laughed, and not pleasantly. "Come now. I'm to patrol the southern woods today, and I'm curious about the abilities you used to bring down my friend, whether accidental or not. It's been a while since I encountered a human, let alone a fey killer. Indulge me in a hunt." Perfect. At least that part of this had gone well, even if it sounded as lovely as facing a bear in its den. So I stepped aside to let a stable boy pass. He moved with a fluid smoothness, like all of them here, and didn't look at me either. No indication at all of what he thought of having a fey killer in his stable. But my kind of hunting couldn't be done on horseback. Mine consisted of careful stalking and well-laid traps and snares. I didn't know how to give chase atop a horse. Lucian accepted a quiver of arrows from the returning stable boy with a nod of thanks. Lucian smiled in a way that didn't meet that metal eye, or the russet one. "No ash arrows today, unfortunately." I clenched my jaw to keep a retort from slipping off my tongue. If he was forbidden from hurting me, I couldn't fathom why he would invite me along, save to mock me in whatever way he could. Perhaps he was truly that bored. Better for me. So I shrugged, looking as bored as I could. "Well, I suppose I'm already dressed for a hunt." "Perfect," Lucian said, his metal eye gleaming in the sunlight slanting in through the open stable doors. I prayed Tamlin wouldn't come prowling through them. Prayed he wouldn't decide to go for a ride on his own and catch us here. "Let's go then," I said, and Lucian motioned for them to prepare a horse. I leaned against a wooden wall as I waited, keeping an eye on the doorway for signs of Tamlin, and offered my own bland replies to Lucian's remarks about the weather. Mercifully, I was soon astride a white mare, riding with Lucian through the spring-shrouded woods beyond the gardens. I kept a healthy distance from the fox-masked fairy on the broad path, hoping that eye of his couldn't see through the back of his head. The thought didn't sit well, and I shoved it away, along with the part of me that marveled at the way the sun illuminated the leaves and the clusters of crocuses that grew like flashes of vibrant purple against the brown and green. Those were things that weren't necessary to my plans, useless details that only blocked out everything else. The shape and slope of the path, what trees were good for climbing, sounds of nearby water sources. Those things could help me survive if I ever needed to. But, like the rest of the grounds, the forest was utterly empty. No sign of fairies, nor any high fae wandering around. Just as well. "Well, you certainly have the quiet part of hunting down," Lucian said, falling back to ride beside me. Good. Let him come to me rather than me seeming too eager, too friendly. I adjusted the weight of the quiver strap across my chest, then ran a finger along the smooth curve of the yew bow in my lap. The bow was larger than the one I used at home, the arrows heavier and heads thicker. I would probably miss whatever target I found until I adjusted to the weight and balance of the bow. 5 years ago, I'd taken the very last of my father's coppers from our former fortune to purchase my bow and arrows. I'd since allotted a small sum every month for arrows and replacement strings. "Well?" Lucian pressed. "No game good enough for you to slaughter? We've passed plenty of squirrels and birds." The canopy above cast shadows upon his fox mask, light and dark and gleaming metal. "You seem to have enough food on your table that I don't need to add to it, especially when there's always plenty left over." I doubted squirrel would be good enough for their table. Lucian snorted, but didn't say anything else as we passed beneath a flowering lilac, its purple cones drooping low enough to graze my cheek like cool, velvety fingers. The sweet, crisp scent lingered in my nose even as we rode on. Not useful, I told myself, although the thick brush behind it would be a good hiding spot if I needed one. "You said you were an emissary for Tamlin," I ventured. "Do emissaries usually patrol the grounds?" A casual, disinterested question. Lucian clicked his tongue. "I'm Tamlin's emissary for formal uses, but this was Andrus's shift. So someone needed to fill in. It's an honor to do it." I swallowed hard. Andrus had a place here, and friends here. He hadn't been just some nameless, faceless fairy. No doubt he was more missed than I was. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. I didn't know what he meant to you all. Lucian shrugged. "Tamlin said as much, which was no doubt why he brought you here. Or maybe you looked so pathetic in those rags that he took pity on you." "I wouldn't have joined you if I'd known you would use this ride as an excuse to insult me." Alice had mentioned that Lucian could use someone who snapped back at him. Easy enough. Lucian smirked. "Apologies, Feyre." I might have called him a liar for that apology had I not known he couldn't lie, which made the apology sincere. I couldn't sort it out. "So," he said, "when are you going to start trying to persuade me to beseech Tamlin to find a way to free you from the treaty's rules?" I tried not to jolt. "What?" "That's why you agreed to come out here, isn't it? Why you wound up at the stables exactly as I was leaving?" He shot me a sideways glance with that russet eye of his. "Honestly, I'm impressed. And flattered you think I have that kind of sway with Tamlin." I wouldn't reveal my hand. Not yet. "What are you talking?" His cocked head was answer enough. He chuckled and said, "Before you waste one of your precious few human breaths, let me explain two things to you. One, if I had my way, you'd be gone, so it wouldn't take much convincing on your part. Two, I can't have my way, because there is no alternative to what the treaty demands. There is no extra loophole." But there has to be something." "I admire your balls, Feyre, I really do. Or maybe it's stupidity, but since Tam won't gut you, which was my first choice, you're stuck here. Unless you want to rough it on your own in Prithian, which," he looked me up and down, "I'd advise against." No, I couldn't just stay here forever until I died. Maybe there was some other way, or someone else who could find a way out. I mastered my uneven breathing, shoving away the panicked, bleeding thoughts. "A valiant effort," Lucian said with a smirk. I didn't bother hiding the glare I cut in his direction. We rode on in silence, and aside from a few birds and squirrels, I saw nothing, heard nothing unusual. After a few minutes, I'd quieted my riotous thoughts enough to say, "Where is the rest of Tamlin's court? They all fled this blight on magic?" "How'd you know about the court?" he asked so quickly that I realized he thought I meant something else. I kept my face blank. "Do normal estates have emissaries? And servants chatter? Isn't that why you made them wear the bird masks to that party?" Lucian scowled, that scar stretching. "We each chose what to wear that night to honor Tamlin's shape-shifting gifts, the servants too. But now, if we had the choice, we'd peel them off with our bare hands," he said, tugging on his own. It didn't move. "What happened to the magic to make it act that way?" Lucian let out a harsh laugh. "Something was sent from the shitholes of hell," he said, then glanced around and swore. "I shouldn't have said that. If word got back to her." "Who?" The color had leached from his sun-kissed skin. He dragged a hand through his hair. "Never mind. The less you know, the better. Tam might not find it troublesome to tell you about the blight, but I wouldn't put it past a human to sell the information to the highest bidder." I bristled, but the few bits of information he'd released lay before me like glittering jewels. A her who scared Lucian enough to make him worry, to make him afraid someone might be listening, spying, monitoring his behavior, even out here. I studied the shadows between the trees, but found nothing. Prythian was ruled by 7 high lords. Perhaps this she was whoever governed this territory. If not a high lord, then a high lady, if that was even possible. "How old are you?" I asked, hoping he'd keep divulging some more useful information. It was better than knowing nothing. "Old," he said. He scanned the brush, but I had a feeling his darting eyes weren't looking for game. His shoulders were too tense. "What sort of powers do you have? Can you shapeshift like Tamlin?" He sighed, looking skyward before he studied me warily, that metal eye narrowing with unnerving focus. "Trying to figure out my weaknesses so you can—" I glowered at him. "Fine. No, I can't shapeshift. Only Tam can." "But your friend, he appeared as a wolf. Unless that was his—" No. Andrus was high fae too. Tam can shift us into other shapes if need be. He saves it for his sentries only, though. When Andrus went across the wall, Tam changed him into a wolf so he wouldn't be spotted as a fairy, though his size was probably indication enough. A shudder went down my spine, violent enough that I didn't acknowledge the red-hot glare Lucian lobbed my way. I didn't have the nerve to ask if Tamlin could change me into another shape. "Anyway," Lucian went on, "the high fae don't have specific powers the way the lesser fairies do. I don't have a natural-born affinity, if that's what you're asking. I don't clean everything in sight or lure mortals to a watery death or grant you answers to whatever questions you might have if you trap me. We just exist. To rule." I turned in the other direction so he couldn't see as I rolled my eyes. "I suppose if I were one of you, I'd be one of the fairies, not high fae? A lesser fairy like Alice, waiting on you hand and foot?" He didn't reply, which amounted to a yes. With that arrogance, no wonder Lucian found my presence as a replacement for his friend to be abhorrent. And since he would probably loathe me forever, since he'd ended my scheming before it had even begun, I asked, "How'd you get that scar?" "I didn't keep my mouth shut when I should have and was punished for it." "Tamlin did that to you?" "Cauldron, no. He wasn't there. But he got me the replacement afterward." More answers that weren't answers. So there are fairies who will actually answer any question if you trap them? Maybe they'd know how to free me from the treaty's terms. "Yes," he said tightly. "The Suriel. But they're old and wicked, and not worth the danger of going out to find them. And if you're stupid enough to keep looking so intrigued, I'm going to become rather suspicious and tell Tam to put you under house arrest. Though I suppose you would deserve it if you were indeed stupid enough to seek one out." They had to lurk nearby, then, if he was this concerned. Lucian whipped his head to the right, listening, his eye whirring softly. The hair on my neck stood, and I had my bow drawn in a heartbeat, pointing in the direction Lucian stared. "Put your bow down," he whispered, his voice low and rough. "Put your damned bow down, human, and look straight ahead." I did as he said, the hair on my arms rising as something rustled in the brush. "Don't react," Lucian said, forcing his gaze ahead too, the metal eye going still and silent. "No matter what you feel or see, don't react, don't look. Just stare ahead." I started trembling, gripping the reins in my sweaty hands. I might have wondered if this was some kind of horrible joke, but Lucian's face had gone so very, very pale. Our horses' ears flattened against their heads, but they continued walking, as if they'd also understood Lucian's command. And then I felt it. Chapter 10. My blood froze as a creeping, leeching cold lurched by. I couldn't see anything, just a vague shimmering in the corner of my vision, but my horse stiffened beneath me. I willed my face into blankness. Even the balmy spring woods seemed to recoil, to wither and freeze. The cold thing whispered past, circling. I could see nothing, but I could feel it, and in the back of my mind, an ancient, hollow voice whispered, "I will grind your bones between my claws. I will drink your marrow. I will feast on your flesh. I am what you fear. I am what you dread. Look at me. Look at me." I tried to swallow, but my throat had closed up. I kept my eyes on the trees, on the canopy, on anything but the cold mass circling us again and again. Look at me! I wanted to look. I needed to see what it was. Look at me. I stared at the coarse trunk of a distant elm, thinking of pleasant things, like hot bread and full bellies. I will fill my belly with you. I will devour you. Look at me. A starry, unclouded night sky, peaceful and glittering and endless. Summer sunrise, a refreshing bath in a forest pool, meetings with Isaac, losing myself for an hour or two in his body, in our shared breaths. It was all around us, so cold that my teeth chattered. Look at me. I stared and stared at that ever-nearing tree trunk, not daring to blink. My eyes strained, filling with tears, and I let them fall, refusing to acknowledge the thing that lurked around us. Look at me. And just as I thought I would give in, when my eyes hurt so much from not looking, the cold disappeared into the brush, leaving a trail of still recoiling plants behind it. Only after Lucian exhaled and our horses shook their heads did I dare sag in my seat. Even the crocuses seemed to straighten again. What was that? I asked, brushing the tears from my face. Lucian's face was still pale. You don't want to know. Please. Was it that Suriel you mentioned? Lucian's russet eye was dark as he answered hoarsely, No. It was a creature that should not be in these lands. We call it the bog. You cannot hunt it and you cannot kill it, even with your beloved ash arrows. Why can't I look at it? Because when you look at it, when you acknowledge it, that's when it becomes real. That's when it can kill you. A shiver spider-walked down my spine. This was the Prithian I'd expected. The creatures that made humans speak of them in hushed tones even now. The reason I hadn't hesitated, not for a heartbeat when I'd considered the possibility of that wolf being a fairy. I heard its voice in my head. It told me to look. Lucian rolled his shoulders. Well, thank the cauldron that you didn't. Cleaning up that mess would have ruined the rest of my day. He gave me a wan smile. I didn't return it. I still heard the bog's voice whispering between the leaves, calling to me. After an hour of meandering through the trees, hardly speaking to each other, I'd stopped trembling enough to turn to him. So, you're old, I said, and you carry around a sword and go on border patrol. Did you fight in the war? Fine. Perhaps I hadn't quite let go of my curiosity about his eye. He winced. Shit, Feyre, I'm not that old. Are you a warrior, though? Would you be able to kill me if it ever came to that? Lucian huffed a laugh.
Not as good as Tam, but I know how to handle my weapons.
He patted the hilt of his sword.
Would you like me to teach you how to wield a blade? Or do you already know how, O mighty mortal huntress? If you took down Andrus, you probably don't need to learn anything. Only where to aim, right?
He tapped on his chest. I don't know how to use a sword. I only know how to hunt.
Same thing, isn't it?
For me, it's different. Lucian fell silent, considering.
I suppose you humans are such hateful cowards that you would have wet yourself, curled up and waited to die if you'd known beyond a doubt what Andrus truly was.
Insufferable. Lucian sighed as he looked me over.
Do you ever stop being so serious and dull?
Do you ever stop being such a prick? I snapped back.
Dead. Really, truly, I should have been dead for that.
But Lucian grinned at me.
Much better.
Alice, it seemed, had not been wrong. Whatever tentative truce we built that afternoon vanished at the dinner table. Tamlin was lounging in his usual seat, a long claw out and circling his goblet. It paused on the lip as soon as I entered, Lucian on my heels. His green eyes pinned me to the spot. Right. I'd brushed him off that morning, claiming I wanted to be alone. Tamlin slowly looked at Lucian, whose face had turned grave.
We went on a hunt,
Lucian said. I heard, Tamlin said roughly, glancing between us as we took our seats. And did you have fun? Slowly, his claw sank back into his flesh. Lucian didn't answer, leaving it to me. Coward. I cleared my throat. Sort of, I said. Did you catch anything? Every word was clipped out.
No.
Lucian gave me a pointed cough, as if urging me to say more, but I had nothing to say. Tamlin stared at me for a long moment, then dug into his food, not all that interested in talking to me either. Then Lucian quietly said,
Tam.
Tamlin looked up, more animal than fey in those green eyes, a demand for whatever it was Lucian had to say. Lucian's throat bobbed.
The bog was in the forest today.
The fork in Tamlin's hand folded in on itself. He said with lethal calm, You ran into it? Lucian nodded.
It moved past, but came close. It must have snuck through the border.
Metal groaned as Tamlin's claws punched out, obliterating the fork. He rose to his feet with a powerful, brutal movement. I tried not to tremble at the contained fury, at how his canines seemed to lengthen as he said, Where in the forest? Lucian told him. Tamlin threw a glance in my direction before stalking out of the room and shutting the door behind him with unnerving gentleness. Lucian loosed a breath, pushing away his half-eaten food and rubbing at his temples. Where is he going? I asked, staring toward the door.
To hunt the bog.
You said it couldn't be killed, that you can't face it.
Tam can.
My breath caught a bit. The gruff, high fae, half-heartedly flattering me, was capable of killing a thing like the bog, and yet he'd served me himself that first night, offered me life rather than death. I'd known he was lethal, that he was a warrior of sorts, but... So he went to hunt the bog where we were earlier today? Lucian shrugged.
If he's going to pick up a trail, it would be there.
I had no idea how anyone could face that immortal horror, but it wasn't my problem. And just because Lucian wasn't going to eat any more didn't mean I wouldn't. Lucian, lost in thought, didn't even notice the feast I downed. I returned to my room, and, awake, with nothing else to do, began monitoring the garden beyond for any signs of Tamlin's return. He didn't come back. I sharpened the knife I'd hidden away on a bit of stone I'd taken from the garden. An hour passed, and still Tamlin didn't return. The moon showed her face, casting the garden below in silver and shadow. Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous to watch for his return, to see if he could indeed survive against the bog. I turned from the window, about to drag myself into bed. But something moved out in the garden. I lunged for the curtains beside the window, not wanting to be caught waiting for him, and peered out. Not Tamlin, but someone lurked by the hedges facing the house, looking toward me. Male, hunched, and... The breath went out of me as the fairy hobbled closer, just 2 steps into the light leaking from the house. Not a fairy, but a man.
All right. And that's all you guys get for today. That was chapters 9 and 10. But see what I mean? Toward the end, see what I mean? How she's just like, oh, I care about him. No, I don't care about him. No. I'm not going to let myself care about him. See, see what I mean? And then with the whole, did you guys have fun on your hunting trip? There's some little, like, tension going on, maybe between them. So that's why I'm just kind of like, okay, let's see what's going on. What it seems to me is maybe a little love triangle situation going on, you know what I mean? Because, it's just like, what more else is going on with this? But we'll see what happens. I think the guy that she's referencing at the end, though, may be, was that her dad or her grandpa? It was somebody. I don't remember at this moment, but I think that's who it is, maybe, because if it's not a fairy, as she referenced at the end, then it's like, who else could it be? And that would be crazy if it actually was. You know what I mean? He's just going to like look for her. But I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. Again, thank you guys so much. If you got into this far into the episode, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Appreciate all the support you guys have been showing. Again, patreon.com/MyLastPodcast. $3 a month gets you exclusive episode every single Friday, as well as being able to send in your scenarios to be featured on Tuesday and Sunday shows. So if you love the Tuesday and Sunday shows and you want to get your scenario on there, Patreon's the place to do it. If you want to support us free 99 style, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, as well as YouTube. That helps out a lot. If you're a primarily audio listener, downloading the podcast as well as rating 5 stars is the most that you guys can do, and I appreciate all the support so far. Keep coming back. We'll check out chapters 11 and 12 next week. But that's going to be it for you, boy. Love you guys all. I'll see you on Sunday. If you're on Patreon, I'll see you on Friday. So, later. Peace.